welcome to this episode 40 of my kind of a podcast. So I finally gave in and I watched Baby Reindeer. I like to think of myself as the kind of person who doesn't follow trends and who doesn't decide on the media I consume based on what is most talked about at the time. I've been burned before. Orange is the New Black was such a letdown. It really didn't live up to the hype. I cannot say that this is how I feel about Baby Reindeer though. It's actually a very good show. I enjoyed the story, the acting is really decent, and the cinematography is very well handled. In fact, the more I watched, the more I was certain that there is no chance any of the things that are being depicted happened exactly in that way in real life. Because every step of the way, I can tell that I am watching a TV show. Real life doesn't flow like this. Real life doesn't have that good a sense of comedic or dramatic timing. And no matter how exactly the same the real life Martha we saw on the interview with Piers Morgan was, the woman I see on my screen when I'm watching Netflix is not real. It's a wonderful interpretation by a very talented actor. And I'm really aware of it every step of the way. I suppose that's one of the reasons why it's hard for me to understand what kind of morbid curiosity would push someone to try and find out who the real life Martha is. I actually cannot understand why anyone would want to bring light to a person they have just watched being depicted as a sick, twisted, and potentially dangerous person. What was the purpose of locating that crazy woman if not to ruin her life? And frankly, what would be the purpose of ruining her life anyway? Doesn't it look like she'd be better off left to her own devices? What purpose would it serve to kick that hornet's nest? Lately on the internet, everyone fancies themselves investigators, what with the advent of true crime content and the likes. At the same time, thanks to the more or less curated feeds of the netizens of TikTok and Instagram, everyone has an opportunity to turn their lives into entertainment for the masses to consume. During the rise of the so-called influencer economy, you had to have something special about you for people to care about watching your vlogs. You had to have beauty, money, fame, a talent, or a combination of all of these for people to actually stop and watch. Today, all you need is a semi-interesting story about someone you married for people to sit and watch your 50-part series telling that story while driving or curling your hair. You don't even have to worry about the production value, the quality of the image or the sound, what you're wearing, the location where you're filming. Hell, you don't even have to edit the whole thing. Just talk to the camera for the literal duration of a work day, and you will have a captive audience watching for as long as you can keep their attention with cliffhanger endings and juicy foreshadowing weaved into your narrative. Slap a hashtag messy talk in your caption and you're good. People are watching. And because of the interactive nature of social media, they're not just watching. They are commenting, sharing, and subscribing. They are speculating. The narrator becomes a source of intrigue, a source of entertainment that you can potentially juice for all that it's worth, as long as they are willing to indulge their audience. And this is where the problems start. The general public is no longer satisfied with just spectating and enjoying the show from behind the barrier of the screen. They want to ask questions, they want to participate, to volunteer their various theories and headcanons. Nowadays, even providers of fictitious stories have been indulging their fans by incorporating fan fiction they have read on Reddit or Wattpad into their writing, rewarding their diehard fans with parasocial brownie points for being so passionate about their creation. What are we supposed to do when it's a true story? How could an audience with such bad habits already ingrained in them revert back to only spectating without participating? Are they supposed to let Gypsy Rose live her life away from the public eye without having to hear the opinions of all the people who are now personally invested in her story about who she should be in a relationship with? Are we really supposed to not try and find out who the real life Martha is? Especially when she's so easy to find? Now that we are accustomed to becoming an integral part of the content we consume, to the point that our enjoyment of a movie or TV show depends pretty much solely only on how closely the story mirrors our own idea of what the story should be. Looking at you, Star Wars fan. How are we ever expected to only sit back, relax, and enjoy the show how the creators intended it? So obviously, I am not at all surprised that of all the people who enjoyed watching Baby Reindeer, some decided to hunt down the real people behind the actors. In the absence of a comment section, the outlet for parasocial validation just birthed itself. It's just a real shame that the real-life Martha appears to be in dire need of psychiatric help and is handling the attention in the worst way possible. There is one thing that I found interesting, let's say for lack of a better word, about who the internet sleuth decided to target with their sleuthing. I will have to preface that section of my video by saying that coming up are mentions of sexual abuse, and I'm fully aware that as a sexual abuse survivor myself, I am very biased against perpetrators. So that interesting thing that I found is the fact that the identity of the real life Darrien has not yet reached a public conclusion. We had people suspecting a real life bald guy with a beard who people suspected to be Darrien, but he said it wasn't him. Then we had another comedian saying that within the comedy / theater world, everybody knows who the real life Darrien is, but nobody's outing him. Richard Gadd himself made a comment saying that he would no longer be commenting on who the real life people are from his story, and that he never intended for them to be found, or else he would have made a documentary. That's fair enough, and it's up to him to decide how he wants to handle his trauma in a way that works for him. But I find that the part where he confided in his audience about his rape and its repercussions, to then disregard the whole thing, I find that to be a pretty heavy burden to carry. See, earlier I told you I was a victim of sexual abuse, and it happened at a time when I was very vulnerable. I never reported it, and my abuser never faced any repercussions that I'm aware of. And I also found out that he was a repeat offender, that I wasn't his first victim, and that there likely were more after me. I find some comfort in that karma took care of making his life go to shit. So at least if he wasn't punished by the law, he did not grow up to be a success story. Coming back to the intended topic of the video, I find it very surprising that Darrien wasn't outed in spite of what Richard Gadd seems to have wanted. I also find it very surprising that he wasn't outed back when Baby Reindeer was just a play and not a Netflix series. I cannot understand why the identity of a rapist is being protected while a mentally disturbed stalker is getting an hour-long interview with Piers Morgan on television. I'm aware of the fact that the real-life Martha decided to waive her anonymity for whatever reason she thought that was a good thing to do. But I doubt that Piers Morgan, of all people, is not beyond outing an alleged rapist. I don't know if I would keep the identity of my rapist quiet if all of a sudden there were people demanding for his identity to be revealed. Maybe it is a testament to the skills of the real life's Darrien as a groomer that over a decade after the fact, his victim still feels like he has to safeguard his anonymity. And not just him, all the people who are in on that so-called open secret in the industry. An alleged rapist gets to remain in the dark, gets to be depicted in a TV show as not having to see any consequences for his actions, even getting to re-enter the life of his victim in a similar position of having power over him, as if nothing, while his victim is shown to be the one to feel the weight and the pain of everything he was made to go through. I hate this feeling I was left with at the end of Baby Reindeer, that nobody got what they deserved. And maybe the fact that the story does not end perfectly wrapped with a bow on top is the most true to life part about it. In real life, stories don't always end with an ending, and everyone does not always get what they deserve. My rapist didn't get what he deserved. No matter how satisfying I feel watching the very unimpressing life he went on to live, by my standards, for all I know, he's perfectly happy and fulfilled, and he has never felt a single twinge of guilt for what he's done to me ever. Maybe I'm upset at the fact that real life Darrien's life wasn't ruined, because I believe that's what it deserves. Sadly, real life people live real lives, and there isn't a mighty script writer making sure that every character arc progresses in 3 equally weighted acts: setup, confrontation, resolution. I suppose the whole thing is also a testament to the society we live in, where being a victim of sexual abuse doesn't make anybody empowered. We continue to live with the guilt of what did I do to provoke this, no matter how many times we hear it wasn't your fault. We still find it hard to talk about our abuse because of that misplaced shame, when it's something that was being done to us. We were not participating, and society at large will protect the identity of abusers. Society will safeguard the open secrets because nobody wants to be the one who rocks the boat. Because we all know that the one who decide to put their neck out and speak truth to power are taking the risk of having their neck ripped into. We have that saying where I come from, Ravet Pajan ni raison devant poule, which roughly translates to cockroaches will never be right in front of chickens. So I am disappointed, but I'm not surprised. I only hope that once our collective attention will move to the next trendy topic, the real life Baby Reindeer characters get all that they need to be able to write the end of their real life screenplay. And this is all I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me, even though the topic was a little more heavier than usual. I hope to see you again soon. We will talk about something completely different. See you later. Bye. Bye.